Everything is okay. Everything is slowing down. You are ready? Ready to drift into a story. Our story today begins with an empty house. Close your eyes now. Let the world soften around you. Let your breath slow, in and out, just like the tide. You are safe. You are calm. You are exactly where you need to be. Feel the air around you, still and warm, like a summer night, drifting lazily through an open window. Somewhere nearby, a gentle wind rustles the leaves. They whisper secrets to one another, soft, ancient, and kind. Can you hear the faint crackle of a fireplace in the distance? The scent of aged wood, burning slow and low. It glows amber behind your eyelids. Everything is okay. Everything is slowing down. You are ready. Ready to drift into a story. A story that won't wake you, but will guide you gently deeper into rest. What do you do when you find a house with a ghost? Let's just say it's not what you think. In the latest video, Elias finds a house in the woods. It's for rent. And while exploring the property, he meets the caretaker, Mira. And let's just say there's a connection. As the days pass, Elias feels a growing sense of unease. It's coming from the house. At night, he hears footsteps in the attic above his head, and when he goes to investigate, he finds a room full of old furniture and a mirror with the initials ME carved into the glass. Then he finds a comb with the same initials on the table next to it, and when he looks in the mirror, he sees a woman. She's tall and thin with a kind face, and she seems to be watching him. When he turns away, the woman is gone. Maybe she'd always been there. His eyes were tired. Long drives had a way of doing that to him. Still, he couldn't shake that feeling. That quiet awareness, like something unseen was just around the corner. Not hiding, exactly, but just watching. He placed the comb gently on the table beneath the mirror. The initials ME still shimmered faintly, like frost on silver. As he turned away, something flickered in his peripheral vision. Was it the mirror again? No. It was the window at the end of the hallway. Dusk had begun to settle. This episode is part of a horror anthology series. In the last episode, we met Elias, who moved into a new house with his girlfriend, Mira. That house had a dark secret, and by the end, it was revealed that Mira had seen the ghost of a woman in the hallway mirror. Now, in this episode, we see what happens next. The mirror had been turned. Someone or something had nudged it so that its reflection would point directly at the mirror. So when Elias stood up, he could see only his own reflection looking back at him, but it felt like it was watching him. He could feel the weight of its gaze on his chest, and when he asked, "Who are you?" he heard a whisper in the hallway behind him. It was the sound of dry leaves being swept under the floorboards, and it seemed to come from the stairs. When Elias reached the top of the stairs, he heard the sound again, louder now, and then he saw it. The guest room door at the end of the hall was slightly open. He pushed the door open and stepped inside, and that's when the rocking chair beside the window began to rock. In a house full of whispers, a man named Elias finds more than he bargained for. The next morning arrived without light. The windows, though uncovered, glowed only faintly. The skies outside were wrapped in a thick, motionless gray. The world was quiet, still, thoughtful. Elias rose slowly from the couch. He hadn't meant to sleep there, but something about the guest room, about the upstairs, had kept him away. The fire had burned low in the night. Now only warm embers remained. He stood and stretched. The comb remained in its place, on the tray near the mirror, untouched, and yet the mirror itself was streaked with faint vertical lines, like the impression of fingers or long strands of hair brushed across the surface. He approached the mirror cautiously. The streaks were only visible in a certain light. If he moved slightly to the left, they disappeared. Slightly to the right, they were there again, and just for a moment, at a particular angle, a second reflection flickered beside his own. Not a shape, not a figure, just the sense of presence. The house was quiet. Elias moved less now. He no longer searched the house for answers, not directly. Instead, he listened, waited, sat still long enough to hear the house breathing between the walls. That morning, he found the white hair had disappeared. The tray was empty. The mirror, streak-free. In the hallway, clean. Calm, still watching. He no longer feared the presence, but he hadn't welcomed it either. That afternoon, while setting a book on the shelf near the fireplace, his fingers caught on something, a tiny groove in the floorboard. He crouched down, pulled the bookcase aside. The wood beneath was different there, older, darker, more worn than the boards around it. He tapped lightly. Hello. He fetched a screwdriver, pried the board up gently. Beneath it, dusk, and a folded square of paper, yellowed and fragile. He unfolded it with care. A letter, written in that same looping hand from the attic journal. It read, "If you see her, you are part of her story now. Do not resist her presence. She is drawn to sorrow, to solitude, to silence. She is not haunting. She is remembering." There was no name, but he knew who had written it. Margaret Eleanor. For the first time since returning home, Elias opened every window. The air outside was fresh, carried the scent of damp earth and distant pine. He let it spill through the rooms, let it weave between the curtains, and slip through the hallway. The house exhaled. It didn't fight the wind. It welcomed it. And for a while there was peace. But peace does not mean the past is gone. It only means the past is quiet. Elias stood once again in the hallway, the one Mira had mentioned. The same hallway where Margaret Eleanor had first made herself known. The mirror remained unchanged. No fogged writing, no shadows, no movement, just reflection. But he noticed something strange now. Something subtle. In the reflection, the guest room door was slightly ajar. But when he turned to look, the door was fully closed. He blinked, turned back to the mirror, the door ajar again. He opened the real door and stepped inside. Nothing had changed. The bed was still made, the chair still near the window, the comb now missing again. Only the air had changed. Claire, as if the room remembered things he didn't. What a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. And now for the scary part. This happened to me. I was adopted and I knew nothing of my biological family. I grew up with no photos, no memories, no connection to them at all. Yet I had this overwhelming feeling that I had a brother. So I began searching for him. We've met several times, and one day I went to visit him in the town where he lives. He lives in a big house with a huge mirror in the entryway. And when I saw myself in that mirror, I saw not only me, but behind me, my brother's face. And then he stepped out from behind me and he said, "You stayed." And I knew in that moment that our souls are connected forever. The days that followed became a rhythm. Slow, gentle, measured like the tick of a grandfather clock. No one remembered winding. Elias no longer flinched at the creaks in the hallway or the reflections in the glass. He welcomed them. The house was no longer empty. It was inhabited by the quiet. Knowing that comes when a place remembers its story and begins to tell it. Each day, Elias would walk past the mirror and feel the same tug in his chest. Not fear, not even curiosity, just familiarity. As though the house, or Margaret Eleanor, had begun to stitch something back together in him. Some mornings he'd find small signs. A cup placed just slightly to the left of where he'd left it. A shawl draped over the chair near the fire. Once a book open to a page he hadn't reached yet. Each time he would pause, smile and whisper, "Thank you." And always, the hallway stayed quiet but full. The calendar said Thursday, but Elias no longer counted days the way he used to. Not in work weeks or errands, but in how the house breathed. That morning, the air shifted again. Not unpleasant, just new, like a page turning gently in a book he hadn't opened. It came with the soft ping of his phone. A message from Mira. "Hey, just saw your review reply. Glad everything's okay. By the way, random question. Was your aunt in town that weekend? I swear I saw someone else." An older lady in the mirror upstairs. She looked sweet, but also kinda sad. Sorry if that's weird. Elias sat still for a long while. His fingers hovered above the screen, but no reply came. Not yet. He placed the phone face down and looked toward the mirror. There was no one there now, just his reflection, and something behind his eyes, something calmer. The weekend guest arrived Friday evening. The key had been left beneath the mat, just as the host promised. The porch was warm with the last golden ribbons of daylight. The forest stood quiet, curious. He was a writer. He needed a quiet place, just for a few days. Nothing too strange, just a change of pace. He set his bag down gently in the hallway. The house smelled like cedar. There was a soft echo to the rooms, the kind that only old wood and deep stories could hold. He smiled. This will do. That night, he wrote a few notes, lit a fire, made tea, and somewhere around midnight, he walked down the hallway and paused by the mirror. There was nothing unusual, just his reflection, and the room behind him. But for a moment, just over his shoulder, he thought he saw something. A shift, a flicker, a soft movement, like a dress caught in the wind. He turned quickly. Nothing, but the hallway was different now. Not cold, not empty, just remembered. In the guest room, he noticed the journal. Curious, he picked it up. The note tucked inside made him smile. He read it aloud in a whisper. "If you see her, don't be afraid. This house holds more memory than time." The fire popped gently downstairs. He folded the letter again and set it aside. He didn't know who she was, but something in him trusted the words. He slept soundly that night, dreamless, safe, and once, maybe only once, he thought he heard a lullaby humming in the walls.